Magandang umaga, Malacañang Press Corps. Welcome sa economic briefing. Makakasama natin ngayong araw si Undersecretary Carl Kendrick Chuan ng Department of Finance. Kasama rin si Congressman Luis Raymond El Rey Villafuerte ng 2nd District ng Camarines Sur. Si Congressman Villafuerte po ay natalaga bilang Deputy Speaker for Finance nitong 18 Congress at patuloy na sumusuporta sa tax reform program ng Duterte administration. Siya rin po ang nag-file ng tax reform bill sa Congress. Good morning, Yusek.
Okay, magandang hapon po sa lahat. Nandito po ako para ipaliwanag po yung tax reform ng sinabi po ni Pangulong Duterte na priority niya sa nakaraang SONA speech niya. Ito po ay mahalagang intindihin kasi ito ang unang pagkakataon na gumagawa po tayo ng tax reform na wala po tayong crisis. Yung mga dating tax reform kasi tulad ng VAT reform noong 2005 ay tugon po sa fiscal crisis na kailangan natin dagdagan ang revenues natin para mabayaran ng utang o mabawasan yung deficit. Ito rin ang unang pagkakataon na meron po tayong tax reform na wala pong external creditor na nagsasabi sa Pilipinas na dapat bayarin ang utang. Ang totoo po, ang pangunahing layunin nito ay hindi po bawasan ang deficit or debt. Ang pangunahing layunin ay para mabawasan ang kahirapan. Yung ating poverty rate o ang taas ng kahirapan noong 2015 ay 21.6. Ang layunin po ng ating gobyerno ay maibaba ito sa 14% poverty rate. Ibig sabihin, 6 na milyong Pilipino po ang dapat maiangat mula sa kahirapan. At sana by 2020, ma-achieve po natin ang pangalawang layunin na maging upper middle income country tulad ng bansang China or Thailand or Indonesia. Tapos kung patuloy po natin gagawin ang ating reforma ay sa 2040 makakamit po natin ang ambisyon nating 2040 target na mawala ang malubhang kahirapan at maging high-income country. At malaki po ang papel ng tax reform dito para ma-achieve po natin ang vision ng ating Pangulo. Meron po tayong sinusunod na 10-point socio-economic agenda na pinangako niya during the campaign at marami na pong mga na-achieve natin. Sa slide na ito, makikita natin ang 10-point socio-economic agenda tulad ng maintaining macroeconomic policies, yung number 1, pangalawa po ay yung tax reform, and etc. Yung mga naka-green ay na-achieve na po natin sa unang 3 taon ng ating ng termino ng ating Pangulo. Yung mga naka-yellow, ito po ay tutuunan natin ng pansin para ma-achieve po natin sa susunod na 3 taon. Bago ko pag-usapan yung tax reform, yung pangalawang achievement, ay dadaan ko muna yung ibang achievement para makita nyo kung paano po sila connected to each other. Para makita nyo rin po paano natin tinutulungan ang ating mga negosyante, mga SMEs, at mga ordinaryong Pilipino. Ang una po sa macroeconomic policies, ang pinaka-achievement po natin in the last few weeks ay yung pag-angat po ng ating credit rating mula BBB to BBB+. And in the next 2 years, ang ating target ay maakyat pa to sa single A rating. Ang ibig sabihin po ng credit rating upgrade ay hindi po tumataas masyado ang interest payments natin. Ibig sabihin, yung gobyerno, yung mga negosyante, pati na yung mga ordinaryong Pilipino ay pwede pong umutang para paglaguhin yung kanilang negosyo, para makagawa ng mas maraming trabaho, para maging mas maunlad ang ating kabuhayan. At so ang credit rating upgrade is not just about getting an upgrade, it is about upgrading everyone's lives. Ang pangalawa po ay yung pag-achieve natin ng Ease of Doing Business Law na co-author din si Deputy Speaker Villafuerte. Ang sinasabi po ng batas na ito ay dapat yung mga simpleng applications tulad ng renewal ng business permit, dapat 3 days lamang ay ma-release na. At kung hindi po na-release ay deem approved. Ito ay makakatulong sa maraming mga small and medium enterprises para sila ay mag-focus sa business imbis na pumila at humintay po ng lisensya. Ang susunod po ay naglaan po tayo ng napakaraming pera sa infrastructure. In 2018, 889 billion po ang nilaan natin, 5.1% of GDP ang equivalent. Ang katumbas na trabaho nito ay 3 million jobs kasi more or less for every 1 million na investment sa infrastructure, 30% or 300,000 ay yung sweldo ng workers. So dahil dito, nakikita natin na pababa yung poverty rate, unemployment rate, and underemployment rate. At nakikita naman natin sa syudad at sa probinsya yung mga benefits ng ating pag-invest sa infrastructure. Ang susunod po ay meron na po tayong progress sa rural development. Sa rice tarification law na pinasa rin ng Kongreso na implemented na ngayon, pababa na po ang presyo ng bigas up to 10 pesos per kilo po sa Metro Manila. Pero hindi po nangangahulugan na hindi po natin tinutulungan ang magsasaka. Ayon sa batas, sa RCEF or the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund, meron pong nakalaan po na 10 billion pesos kada taon for the next 6 years para sa magsasaka, para ma-modernize and to improve their productivity. At kung lampas pa sa 10 billion ang makokolektang tariff, ito ay bibigay rin po sa ating magsasaka para ma-improve po yung productivity. Yung susunod po ay yung pinasaang universal healthcare. Ito ay sinusuporta ng sin taxes. Yung naipasang tobacco excise tax increase ng nakaraang Congress, ito ay popondo sa universal healthcare. At ilan sa mga benepisyo na matatanggap ng ating kababayan ay mga sumusunod. Mula 18 primary care drugs na libre, magiging 120. So maraming sakit tulad ng cancer ang covered. Mula 7 health conditions na libre tulad ng pneumonia, or diabetes, magiging unlimited na po to. So halos lahat ng sakit po ay covered. At mula sa 90% copay, ibig sabihin ito yung contribution nyo mula sa sweldo nyo o sa bulsa nyo, magiging fixed fee na lamang, yung pag-member nyo sa PhilHealth. Ito ay benepisyo ng universal healthcare na maaring maramdaman na po ng Pilipino, ng bawat Pilipino simula 2020. At ito ay pinopondohan ng ating tobacco excise tax increase, pati na yung alcohol na papaliwanag ko. At yung huling na-achieve po natin, yung pagpapalawak ng social protection through the national ID, na in the next 3 years, maro-roll out na to para ang bawat Pilipino ay magkaroon ng bank account at doon po sila pwede mag-save at anumang tulong or subsidy na bibigyan po ng gobyerno, diretso na po sa bank account and that will minimize leakage. Ngayon po, punta po tayo sa tax reform. Inuna ko muna yung mga ibang reforms para makita po nating lahat na hindi lamang sa tax reform natin tinutulungan ang bawat Pilipino. Meron na pong naunang mga services improvement. Pero kailangan po natin gawin ang tax reform para maging mas patas, simple at mas efficient ang ating tax system. Para imbes na makahadlang po ito sa business expansion and welfare improvement ng bawat Pilipino, ito po ay makakatulong sa pag-attract ng investment, job creation at poverty reduction. Sa SONA po ng ating Pangulo, 4 po ang packages na binanggit niya. Lahat ng packages na to ay naipasa na ng 17th Congress sa House of Representatives. Pero ang nangyari po, hindi po ito umusad sa Senate. Kaya iulitin po natin ito sa 18th Congress. Ang una po dito ay yung Package 2 or yung Corporate Income Tax and Incentives Reform. Papaliwanag ko yung detalye in a while. Yung susunod po ay yung Package 2 Plus na ipasa na ang tobacco. Hinihintay lang natin ang pirma ng Pangulong Duterte. Pero yung alcohol ay ibabalik natin, i-hear po natin sa upcoming congressional hearing. Yung package 3 po, yung property valuation. Ang maganda sa reformang ito ay maiayos na yung napaka-komplikadong valuation system. Kasi sa LGU, may assess valuation sila. Sa BIR, may zonal value. Tapos yung mga appraisers, may sariling value. Ang isang epekto po ng maraming valuation ay may right-of-way issues parati tayo. Kasi hindi po nagtutugma yung valuation ng gobyerno, sa owner, sa appraiser, sa national, sa local. At dito po nagtatagal yung mga infrastructure dahil minsan 10 years po nasa korte para ma-i-address yung valuation issues because of right-of-way. At yung pang-apat po, yung ating reforma sa passive income and financial taxes. Kung meron po kayong savings sa bangko, 20% ang withholding kaagad. Ang gagawin po natin ay babawasan natin to 15% para ang karaniwang Pilipino po ay pwede pong mas malaki yung maiuwi nilang take-home pay kasi bababaan natin yung withholding tax. At siyempre yung mga mayaman na mas may kaya, doon po natin babawiin. Sa next few slides ko po, ang ifo-focus ko lamang po ay yung Package 2, yung Corporate Income Tax and Incentives Reform, at yung Package 2 Plus, yung further increase sa tobacco and alcohol na sinabi ni Pangulong Duterte. Ang Package 2 ay ang tawag po dito sa 17th Congress ay yung Trabaho Bill. Ang problema po natin sa corporate income tax side ay napakataas ang rates na binabayad ng bawat korporasyon. Both foreign and domestic, and large and small, lalo na po yung mga MSMEs na nagbabayad ng 30% corporate income tax. Sa ibang bansa po ay mas mababa na. Ang problema rin po, kahit mataas yung corporate income tax natin at 30%, ang collection natin mas mababa pa sa ibang bansa tulad ng Thailand. Ang isang dahilan dito, yung implementation. Ang isa pong dahilan dito ay marami tayong exemptions na papaliwanag ko mamaya. Kaya ang una po natin gagawin sa trabaho bill or the package 2 ay ibababa natin dahan-dahan ang corporate income tax from 30% hanggang umabot ito sa 20%. At ito ay makakatulong sa lahat ng negosyante sa corporate sector, kahit na yung mga maliliit, para mailaan po yung savings sa expansion, which will create jobs. 1.4 million jobs po ang ating ini-expect in the next 10 years dahil sa pag-expand po ng businesses kasi mas maliit na po yung tax na babayarin nila. Ang susunod po na ating aayusin ay yung napaka-komplikadong tax incentive system natin. Una po, tayo lamang ang nag-iisang bansa sa buong mundo na nagbibigay ng incentives na walang katapusan forever. Pangalawa po, napakaraming investment promotion agencies ang nagbibigay ng incentives at yung DOF ay walang board seat sa 12 out of 14. So kami ay naghihirap para mag-generate ng revenues, pero yung paggamit yan o pagbigay ng incentives, wala kami say in 12 out of 14. Ang susunod po, napakaraming batas ngayon ang nagbibigay ng incentives. 136 investment laws give incentives to investors. Tapos meron pa tayong 200 non-investment incentives laws na nagbibigay ng iba pang incentives. So ang total niyan ay 336. Ang huli po, napakaraming eco-zones ang nasa bansa. Marami sa kanila ay nasa richer or urban areas. Ang bawat eco-zone po ay tax-free. At dahil dito, naisipan po ni Pangulong Duterte sa isang administrative order na ilabas last month na ilimit yung mga eco-zones para mapunta po sila sa probinsya kung saan talaga nangangailangan ng investors. Hindi po yun nasa Manila lamang lahat. Dahil sa sistema natin ng pagbigay ng indefinite incentives, sa 2017, ang estimate po namin based on the reports ng mga tumatanggap ng incentives under the TIMTA law ay 441 billion pesos ang binigay natin na tax incentives sa 3,139 firms. Ganyan po kalaki ang binibigay natin na incentives. At hindi po natin sinasabi na lahat po ay hindi maganda or mabuti. Ang sinasabi po lamang natin ay yung mga nararapat bigyan ay bigyan pa rin. At yung mga hindi nararapat bigyan ay gradually i-phase out na para maging patas. Kasi yung mga regular firms, 30% ang binabayad nila as income tax rate. Yung mga tumatanggap ng incentives, between 6 and 13%. At gusto natin ng patas talaga. As we lower the corporate income tax rate, dapat yung tax base lawakin natin para patas. At dahil dito, ang laman po ng package 2 or tinatawag na trabaho bill ay yung pag-convert ng incentives natin into performance-based, targeted, time-bound, and transparent. Ang ibig sabihin po nito ay bago po bigyan ng incentive ang isang korporasyon, dapat patunayan muna na may trabaho talagang nilikha. May exports, may training na binigay sa employees, or may research and development. Hindi po yung pagbigay ng incentives forever na walang kapalit. Ang ibig sabihin po ng targeted, hindi po pwede bigyan lahat ng incentives, yung 336 na sectors. Dapat pipili po tayo ng top 10, maybe 20 or 30 sectors na pinakamahalaga at may pakinabang talaga sa kinabukasan ng ating ekonomiya. Yung time-bound, hindi rin pwede forever. So ang proposal namin ay 5 to 7 years, pero renewable yan basta magpakita ng resulta or innovation. At ang huli po, transparent, ay dapat alam po ng taong bayan saan po napupunta yung pinaghirapan nilang tax payment na pambayad sa incentive ng mga investors. So yan po ang laman ng package 2. At ito ay na-file na po ni Congressman Villafuerte, pati na rin ang ibang mga congressmen. Ngayon, ang huling presentation ko po ay yung Package 2 Plus or yung Tobacco and Alcohol Excise Tax. Sabi po ni Pangulong Duterte sa SONA, dapat itaas pa rin ang antas ng rates ng tobacco and alcohol products. Yung naipasa po ng last Congress, last June 4, ay yung tobacco. Ang layunin nito ay ensure na may sapat na pondo ang universal healthcare. Kasi meron po tayong first class law, pero kung kulang ang pondo, third class ang implementation. Pangalawa po ay i-discourage ang consumption ng mga sin products na ito. At yung pangatlo po ay i-ensure na yung ating young and vibrant workforce ay may magandang kinabukasan na hindi po sila magkakasakit dahil sa pag-consume ng tobacco and alcohol products. Yung median age po natin kasi ay 24 years old. Ibig sabihin, kalahati ng ating population ay below 24 years old. So this reform and the universal healthcare ensures that they have a brighter future and they don't get sick. Ang problema po natin, bago na ipasa po yung tobacco excise tax in the last Congress, ay meron po tayong 195 billion na guaranteed fund for universal healthcare. Ang kulang po natin yung 62 billion o yung red, at doon natin kukunin sa tobacco and alcohol excise tax kasi sila ay health measures to fund a very important healthcare reform. In the 5 years in the coming 5 years, napakalaki po yung gap na kailangan natin i-fill up, around 400 billion. At nagpapasalamat kami sa previous Congress na pinasa po nila yung tobacco. Ang laman po ng tobacco excise tax na pinasa ng previous Congress ay yung pagtaas po ng excise tax ng regular cigarettes from 35 peso per pack this year to 45 peso per pack next year, hanggang umabot po siya ng 60 pesos. Tapos, pinasok din po ng previous Congress yung tax on heated tobacco products. Yung burned, yung tobacco products kasi natin, yung cigarette, burned yan. May bagong technology na heated, pero ang ginawa po nila ay 10 pesos lamang. At gaya po ng sinabi ni Pangulong Duterte, kailangan itaas pa natin. Kaya ang proposal natin dito ay ipantay sa regular cigarettes at 45 pesos per pack. Meron pong pinasok na tax on e-cigarettes tulad ng mga vapes, yung mga Juul products for instance. Ang problema po ay mababa din, kaya po sinabi ni Pangulong Duterte, kailangan itaas. Ang recommendation namin ay 45 peso per milliliter para ipatas din or ipantay sa excise tax ng regular products. Tapos sa alcohol naman po, may proposal kami na itaas yung excise tax ng fermented products tulad ng beer. Ngayon po kasi dual rate from 24 to 34, gagawin po natin 40 peso per liter at gradually mag-i-increase po siya. At sabi po ng ating health specialist, ito ay maganda para maiwasan din yung mga diseases na related po sa overconsumption ng alcohol. Meron din po tayong further increase sa distilled spirit. Ito po yung mga hard liquor na itataas natin mula 20 to 25% yung ad valorem rate at yung specific rate per proof liter from 23 pesos to 40 at pataas din po hanggang umabot po to ng 55 and so on. So yan po ang ating pinopropose na reforma na na-file na rin po ni Congressman Villafuerte. Ang huli kong mensahe ay yung tax reform natin ay hindi lamang tungkol sa pag-increase po ng revenues natin. Lahat po ng reforma ng ating gobyerno, lahat ng tax reform revenues ay nakalaan po sa infrastructure and social services. At lahat po na makukuha po natin, ibabalik po natin sa ating taong bayan sa pamamagitan ng mas magandang kalsada, healthcare system, universal healthcare, at anong bang tulong para ma-achieve po natin yung ating 2040 vision na wala nang mahirap at maging high-income country. Ngayon po, nagtatapos ang presentation ko. Ibibigay ko po kay Congressman Villafuerte for his few remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl. I'm here basically because I'm a principal author of the major tax reforms. On my part, we believe it's needed because first, I'm also a principal author of the Universal Healthcare Law, tertiary education, and other programs that needs funding. Coming from a province that needs these funds, ramdam po ng mga tao ang mga reforma programa ng ating Pangulo. Kaya I'm strongly supporting this. Kasi for example, yung Universal Healthcare Law, napakagandang batas. At kung di naman mapopondohan ng maigi po yan, ay ramdam po yan na grabe po epekto sa mga farthest barangay, mahirap na probinsya, bayan. So I'm really a believer that this tax reform should be passed at the soonest possible time. And on behalf of the majority naman, we fully support the of course, the priority legislative agenda of the President, particularly itong tax reform. So I think this will be prioritized this incoming 18 Congress. Thank you.
Okay, MPC. Kasama rin natin si ASEC Tony Lambino, MPC. Questions? Ace Romero.
To our speakers, we all know that package 2 of the tax reform was bypassed during the previous Congress. So what strategies will be employed now so it can be passed, so it will hurdle the Congress and yung opposition can be addressed? So what's the new strategy this time?
Actually, on the part of Congress, we passed package 2. It passed on second, third reading, forwarded to the Senate. I think basically kulang ang oras, plus siguro election time. But now, if we prioritize this in terms of, mahir agad, hear the pros and cons, I think we have a time to really debate on this, discuss the pros and cons, and have time for us to approve and forward to the Senate whatever version ang acceptable for both. Thank you.
Yung Senate po ang hindi nagpasa, di ba?
Yes, pumasa sa Kongreso, finorward sa Senate.
So what will you do to, convince the senators? Kasi apparently meron pa rin silang mga opposition, especially dun sa possible impact sa jobs, dun sa income ng mga tao. How would you persuade them to pass this package?
Well, we really have to win the debate on there's the need, no? Not just passing it. Both not in the Senate, pati yung public acceptance. Siguro lalong dapat maipahayag sa publiko, not just the Senate, ang importance po ng itong panukalang ito. I think it's a product of communication and, how we can express to the public, even the Senate, on the importance. Thank you.
Si Yusek na lang, yung revenue estimates, yung additional revenues, once na-pass yung mga packages, yung ano po yung estimates again?
Ganito po, yung package 2, corporate income tax and incentives, revenue neutral po siya. Kasi habang binababa po natin ang corporate income tax, which is revenue losing, ginagawa natin mas malaki ang tax base by removing the incentives that are not necessary. So yan po ang epekto. We are cleaning up a system that is unfair and unaccountable. Yung package 2 plus, yung alcohol, meron po tayong 30 billion at least per year. Kung naipasa po yung proposal ng DOF, DOH, and yung final ni Senator Manny Pacquiao, na final rin po ni Congressman Villafuerte. So yan po ay pupunta sa universal healthcare. At dahil naniniwala kami na kailangan pondohan ang napakagandang batas. Yung package 3, wala po yan revenue sa national government. Meron po yung revenue sa local government kung may ayos po nila yung property valuation. Kasi at this point po, some LGUs have not adjusted for more than 20 years. Nagiging unfair din po na bakit may mga LGUs na nagbabayad ng tama, may mga LGUs din na kulang. Yung package 4 din po ay revenue neutral. Ibig sabihin po, inaayos lang natin yung complicated system. Kung lumawak po yung investment, yung savings, then doon po tayo magge-generate ng revenues. At dagdag ko lang po yung sinabi ni Kong Elry, naubusan tayo ng oras kasi marami po tayong inihain na tax reform. Pero lahat po naman dumaan sa masusing debate at committee hearings. So naniniwala kami na siguro mas mabilis na rin po. Kasi yung ating trabaho bill ay marami pong nagsusupport. Meron pong mga certain sectors na may concern at doon po natin kakausapin to make sure na yung concerns nila, lalo na yung uncertainty ay ma-address the soonest possible time.
Salamat po.
Okay, Laila Salaveria, Inquirer.
Good morning. Sir, one of the concerns raised in the Senate was that the Trabajo Bill would force companies enjoying these incentives to shut down and transfer to neighboring countries that are aggressively attracting foreign investors. How can we ensure this would not be the case? And somebody mentioned the elections as a factor. We will have elections again in 2022. It's not that far off. So how will you counter the possible effects of these?
Well, I think yung una po, we need to work with Congress and they have given their support following the President's SONA directives to get all the tax reforms passed in hopefully within the year. Kasi gaya po ng sinabi ko, dumaan na po ito sa parang a round of hearings and passage in the House. So I think mas mabilis na po. Pangalawa po, I think there is a misreading po of the Trabaho Bill because ang una pong sinasabi ng investors na tanggaling incentives, which is not true. In fact, we are offering sometimes better incentives. For instance, dati po kasi yung incentive system goes like this. O ngayon po, you get 5% as tax in lieu of all taxes without any conditions. Kami po, we will give you more incentives if you create job, if you train your people, if you invest in research and technology, if you buy local. So malaki po ang epekto nito sa job creation, building the local supply chain. Ang concern lang po kasi ng investors ay napakatagal yung proseso. And many of them will not invest unless na sure po sila kung ano yung final bill or approved law. Ang sabi po nila sa amin ay once na may clarity na, then they can make a decision and invest. Unlike 20 years ago, when we had to give incentives, wala po tayong infrastructure, ease of doing business, universal healthcare, and all the reforms we are putting. Now kasi mas balanse yung support na binibigay natin. May K-12 tayo, halimbawa, may malaki po yung pinapasok natin na TESDA training. Meron na po tayong build program. So sana po makita nila na hindi lamang tax incentives ang pwede nilang kunan ng benefit, pati na yung mga other ways to improve their ease of doing business.
Saka, if I may add, no, yung when you look at it kasi, ang naiisip nila, ay, babawasan ng incentive. Baka ayaw ng foreigners or investors. But an investor kasi, they look at several factors, not just the incentives. Number one, peace and order, which siyempre nag-improve na sa atin. Siguro everybody can admit. Secondly, infrastructure. Gumanda ba ang port, kalsada. And because of the build, most of the investors now are looking towards the Philippines because improved airport, seaport, roads. So ito yung mga bagay na, when they decide, not just the incentives. And ang nakakalungkot, despite the fact na ang incentives natin napakatagal, unlimited, at mataas, ang investment natin compared to our ASEAN neighbors, napakababa. Whereas our ASEAN neighbors are offering less incentives, tayo mas mataas, and yet mas malaki sila. So yung incentive factor is only one. So hindi ibig sabihin na bawasan mo yon. There are other non-monetary considerations why they will invest here.
Yusek, you mentioned that you hope to pass the bill within the year. Does that only refer to the House or even the Senate?
Both houses.
Confident,
I believe so.
Sir, I understand the rationalization of the incentives is meant to remove these from companies that don't deserve this. Do we have an estimate on how many companies?
Well, ang maganda po, because of the TIMTA law, what is the TIMTA law? That is the Tax Investment Management Transparency Act, passed in 2012 by 2 Congresses ago, that mandate all corporations receiving incentives to report how much they got. So based on that, we have already built 3 years of data. And so what we did was to do a cost-benefit analysis. And what we found in general, and you can look at the website of the DOF for the details, is that around half of incentives really go to deserving firms, and we wish to keep and encourage those. But the other half goes to investors who make a lot of money or have been enjoying that for 40 years or don't really need it because they have a sure market. So why give the incentives? Because when you give an incentive to these investors, you take it away from someone else who deserve that support. Maybe the poor people, the farmers in Mindanao, the school children. So what we're trying to do is to find a better balance and do it more objectively.
Thank you.
Okay, RJ?
Sir, I understand that part of this strategy this time is to have weekly meetings with our lawmakers. So, any update on that?
Tama po yan. What happened in the last Congress was that we were not able to maximize the working relationship. So naisip po ni Secretary Dominguez, because all bills will have fiscal implications, is to establish weekly meetings with members of Congress. And that is exactly what I am doing for the tax reform and what my colleagues are doing. So nagsimula na yan. There's also the proposal to have more frequent LEDAC, either at the technical level, so that lahat ng bills po ay ma-vet, and when we present our position to Congress, it is more unified.
May I know, sir, when you started?
When I started? I started July 1 with the new Congress. So we have been briefing those who have been interested to file and support some of our bills, and this continues.
And until when po ito, sir?
Well, ang instruction ni Secretary is we have to do it regularly. So, 4 times a week, I am usually meeting a legislator to understand their concerns and also to convey our position on certain bills.
May I know, sir, which agencies in government are involved?
Which agency? At the Economic Development Cluster, we have already agreed to work better. So, in other words, the Economic Development Cluster is chaired by the Secretary of Finance, and we have regular meetings. And in those meetings, we discuss the priority bills and how we should engage with Congress to convey those positions. So, they are primarily NEDA, DOF, DBM, as well as the other line agencies that are involved in these economic and fiscal bills.
If I may add, no, the direction of Speaker Alan Cayetano is to really have regular meetings, not only with the executive, not only with the economic clusters, on all departments, for example, finance, trade, agriculture, but importantly also to have regular meetings with the Senate. That's what the direction of the Speaker. And during the SONA, we briefly talked to Senate President Soto, and he really likes this idea.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Yusek Chua, is that also happening now with the Senate? Are you involved in the Senate in the meeting?
Yes. After this, I have to go to the Senate.
So meaning to say, yung previous meeting niyo was with the congressman?
Basically every day I have a meeting with some legislator to present our bills, to seek their support, and also to understand their concerns.
So next Senate. Sir, yung revenue estimate po natin from imposing more excise tax on e-cigarettes and heated cigarettes?
Well, our estimate as of now, I will ask my team to share the PowerPoint. They are less than 1 billion today. The reason for that is the rates are very low, 10 peso per pack or 10 peso per ml compared to yung 45 peso for the regular. And also these are new products that are in very small volume, but we expect them to increase kasi that is a global trend. So that's why we're starting low. But we have to already address the President's directive na they have to be increased.
We propose to increase by how much?
Well, in the bill that was approved, yung heated tobacco is 10 peso per pack. We want it 45 pesos per pack, similar to the regular cigarette, para fair.
With 45 peso per pack.
Per pack next year for regular. From 10 to 45.
So yung revenue estimate for natin for that?
That is, yung combined daw with the e-cigarette is less than 1 billion. Again, the reason for that is these products are consumed by relatively few people as of now. And it will grow once we are able to regulate it better.
Sir,
Yung sa vapes, yung e-cigarette, yung 10 peso per milliliter, we are proposing 45 pesos per milliliter. Kasi 1 milliliter is basically 1 pack equivalency.
Sir, do we treat these products the same as we treat the regular cigarettes?
Yes, because when we spoke to the health experts, there are health risks. And although we do not know the precise magnitude, we should be cautious that they have risks, so we will treat them similarly.
That includes the risk to the third party
Yes,
person?
yes.
Okay. Thank
Especially the user who will suffer from health consequences.
you. So sir, if that is the argument, so paano yung ibang products na may nicotine? Because it's the nicotine content, right? Na tinatax natin according to ml amount, right?
Nicotine is addictive, and according to the health experts, have also health adverse risk. So that is why we are taxing them similarly.
Halimbawa yung nicotine patches, gums, inhaler, nasal spray.
Those ones, we are in discussion with the Department of Health. Some of these products are marketed for cessation, so we are looking at how to regulate them or if ever tax them. But our priority right now is to tax those that have those that are direct substitutes of regular cigarettes, so the heated tobacco and the vapes.
But now you're also considering to include them.
No, we are in discussion first with the DOH for those things you asked, like the nicotine patch and the other. So we are focusing right now on those that are cigarette or their direct substitute.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Bernadette, may question ka? Ace?
Yun lang pong timeline for the other packages kasi I understand yung package 2 within the year hopefully. How about 2 plus 3 and 4?
Actually, we're targeting all of this by
This
this
year, lahat. Kaya po ba?
Well, ako naman yung sa Property Valuation Act, I think that was extensively discussed in Congress. Siguro we will set hearings, marathon hearings to prioritize the hearings in Congress para ma-forward sa Senate. Yung corporate income tax, I think everybody likes that. Wala namang controversy. Siguro the question lang is yun sa incentives, which Congress already passed. Although we have a new composition now, we will thoroughly discuss. Then yung passive income tax and financial tax, napakaganda po niyan. Baka hindi nyo alam, na-rationalize yan. Alam mo kasi merong mga, difference. Alam mo ba pag nag-deposit ka ng long-term, ng long-term deposit, sometimes, exempt sa tax yan or napakababa ng tax. Ngayon yung short-term, tinatax. So, sino ba nag-short term? Yung people who are less capable. So, what the DOF proposed, and I agree, is irrationalize na yan. Bakit kung long-term, short-term, magkaiba? So, yung mga ganyan na passive income tax and financial income tax, I think is very positive. I think ano lang dito, ang i-discuss lang again, is the additional tax on alcohol and tobacco. So I think achievable po yan.
Kasi yun ang controversial, di ba? Yung
Yes.
iba hindi naman.
Yes.
So-
And beneficial, revenue neutral.
Okay. So kung within the year, hopefully within the year din yung signing into law. So,
Palagay ko kasi ano yan as Yusef Carl mentioned, in fact we met with them last week, no? So yung weekly meetings ongoing po yan. And today we will have a majority caucus and we will probably discuss all the tax reform already.
so ang strategies communication, marathon hearings,
Yes.
frequent LEDAC
Yes.
meetings. Okay.
And of course, yung debate. Dapat marinig yung debate para yung pros and cons talaga ma-communicate sa tao.
Yung supermajority will be a crucial advantage dito sa passage. Do you think?
Of course, kumbaga dati majority, ngayon super na. So most of them really, of course, support the President's priority agenda. Although kung meron silang concern, I think that can be threshed out with discussions.
Salamat po.
Thank
Okay. Si Joseph na muna o si RJ? RJ?
Sir, I just wonder kung may sinusunod tayong sequence. May sinusunod po ba tayong sequence ng...
Yung sequence in terms of the packages?
Yes.
Well, we prefer, of course, it's subject to yung congressional debate and pace kasi we have to listen to all concerns. We prefer that package 2 and 2 plus be given higher priority. The reason for that is these two bills have been pending for a very long time, even in previous Congresses. We started trying to rationalize fiscal incentives in 1995, and we have not achieved them before. And the longer we delay, the more uncertainty. Kasi ngayon investors hindi papasok kung hindi nila alam kung ano yung final tax incentive package. They rather wait until the decision has been made by Congress, and then they will decide to invest. Now, yung package 2 plus is to fund the universal healthcare. We cannot delay a very beautiful law, first class in design, and not fund it. Kasi ang mangyayari is we cannot fully implement. Yung sinasabi kong from 7 conditions magiging indefinite, yung 18 free drugs na magiging 120 free drugs, and yung 90% copay, meaning you pay from your pocket, na magiging fixed fee. We cannot wait kasi we know that many people really need better healthcare. So yan yung priority namin. But in general, we would like, as Congressman Villaferte said, to have all of them approved by the Congress, both houses, within the year. And hopefully the regular meetings and coordination between the executive and Congress and the House and the Senate will facilitate that process.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, mag-last question na tayo kay Joseph. Joseph Morong, GMA 7.
For both, do you need the president to sign this bill as urgent so as to send a message that this is very important for the administration?
Well, since these are direct SONA pronouncements, we will, of course, once my committee report, which is the requirement before a certificate of urgency is issued, we will inform the Office of the President that a committee report is available. Following the directive of the President, we may request a certificate of urgency.
Sir, ito ba refiled lang ba ang gagawin natin? Meaning you have the parang initial committee report, you would have to come up with another one?
Actually, there's a section 48 in the rules that when it's already passed on third reading, you can invoke section 48, meaning you can adopt the previous committee report prior to submission to plenary. But I think we feel that we can still have we can invoke that, or I think we need there's also a need to further discuss. But the key word is prioritization. Out of the 3,000 bills that have been filed so far, siguro gawin tong priority.
And how are you going to communicate that to the leadership?
Yes, we will have a majority caucus, get their inputs, suggestions on how we can prioritize.
Sir, sa finance, di ba sabi natin before na pag tinasan mo yung taxes on cigarettes, mababawasan yung demand. So you've collected now yung initial taxes from cigarettes. Will you be able to quantify if indeed na-reduce yung demand?
Okay, ganito po. There are two effects. One is the price effect. The other is the income effect. It is true that when you raise the tax, the price goes up, assuming walang illicit trade or smuggling. The poor, the youth, are the most sensitive to the price increase. Therefore, they will lower their demand or consumption. At the same time, we are a fast-growing economy where poverty is falling, unemployment and underemployment are falling. May income effect. People are getting jobs and their income is increasing. So ang kontra naman ng price effect is income effect. And we saw that in 2016. When we passed the sin tax of 2012, pababa yung demand for cigarettes. Pero tumigil na siya in 2016. The reason for that is humabol na yung income effect. It becomes more affordable. So that is why we have to continuously increase the tax rates. And this time, it is not just for the sake of increasing it. It is to fund universal health care. So based on our computation, at 45 peso, there will be an initial reduction of the demand, especially by the poor and the youth. But if we do not continuously increase, then that will U-turn. Ibig sabihin, the reduction in demand will become an increase in demand because hahabol yung kanilang income. That is why we have the gradual increase, 45, 50, 55, 60, and then automatic indexation. Para yung consumption ay hindi tumaas.
Wala kang data, sir, kung how much yung nabawas sa demand?
May data po. I think, let me just refresh my mind
Okay.
and give it to you later. May data po.
Just on that,
Gusto
sir.
ko lang idagdag, no?
Yes, sir.
While we were talking about the universal healthcare gap, the President's directive, di ba, sinabi niya na we should pass a salary standardization law for teachers and nurses. Saan kukunin yung pera na naman po? So what I'm saying, while meron na tayong gap to fund the universal healthcare, the President also wants to fund the increase in teachers and nurses' salary. Saan kukunin po yun? Then meron pa siyang sinabi yung fire protection modernization bill. You need also money for that. So what I'm saying is, while we are funding all these tax packages to fund the existing laws, may mga additional pa na kailangan pondohan. So that's why there's an urgent need for this to be passed based on the President's and what the country needs. Yan ang kailangan.
Pero hindi ba, sir, specific dun sa sin tax law that all collections will go to universal healthcare? So you have to revise that?
Ganito po, in the enrolled bill that the President will soon sign, it says that 50% of all collection from tobacco, heated cigarette, e-cigarette, sweetened beverage, and alcohol will go to universal health care. Dati kasi, ang nakalagay sa sin tax law, the incremental lang, yung dagdag lang. Ngayon naman, sa enrolled bill, which the President is expected to sign this week, it is the entire pot from sweetened beverage, tobacco, e-cigarette, and alcohol. So that will guarantee more funding.
The other 50 is for other projects?
The other 50 is for the general fund. Kasi we have to operate the government, put some in infra or salaries or education and so on.
By the way, if you may add lang shortly, briefly. When we passed the sweetened beverage law, Alam nyo ba, the other countries want to copy us. Kumbaga, we set the trend in the ASEAN. Kumbaga, what we did initially, people think what's negative, but internationally, it's now a benchmark on how a tax reform can be passed and implemented.
Sige. May,
Konti lang.
Sec?
Sir, since you're the finance person, can you compute for me? For example,
If it's addition, we can all do it.
hindi sir, yun pong, just to give an idea of how much a pack of cigarette will cost after all of these tax measures are approved and...
Okay, sige, ganito. Assuming that you can buy a pack at 100. The reason why I use the 100 is because yung tingi-tingi per stick is selling at around 5 right now based on our market survey. So assuming you can buy a pack of 100, 35 peso of that 100 peso pack is the excise tax. Next year, it will be 45. So may dagdag tayo na 10. So the 100 becomes 110 plus a little VAT on the 10. So magiging 111 forms, yeah. 111.20 per ASEC Tony, who is who knows the business better, who knows the product better than me.
next year yan, sir.
Yes. By next year, yes. Kasi
2020.
kasi yung 35 magiging 45. So ang increase niyan is 10. So the 100 becomes 110 plus the VAT on the excise, so 111.2. So we think that's affordable because dati, yung cigarette na 2 peso excise na naging 30, people continue to smoke. Although the rich, those are those who are more, who can afford. But the poor and the youth, they really cut down. And that's the target market of our reform.
Sige, sir. Pwede kaya, Sec Tony?
Si RJ muna and then Bernadette.
Sec Tony, you want to stay?
Sir, Yusek Chua, did you mention that the tobacco bill will be signed into law this week?
It is an enrolled bill that was transmitted last June 27 to Malacañang. And that means it laps into law July 27. And my understanding is it is ready for signature by the President. The tobacco excise bill passed by the 17th Congress, which increases the rates of the tobacco excise from 35 to 45 and added a tax on heated tobacco products and the e-cigarette.
No word from the palace whether it will be signed.
I
or
was told
just-
it will be signed this
Okay.
week
All right.
because that is a priority measure, certified urgent by the President in the previous Congress and mentioned by the President in the SONA.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Bernadette? Okay. Last question na, Joseph? Asek Lambino.
Sir, yun
For
pong
us,
sa,
Colombian.
sa mga workers na Chinese, no? You mentioned that ang tagas natin in terms of the uncollected taxes is 2 billion per month. Do we have you also give a figure of 130,000? When you say foreign nationals, this is not just Chinese?
Not just Chinese. Our initial estimate based on the lists that PAGCOR, the Bureau of Immigration, DOLE, and other agencies put together under the task force that Secretary Dominguez formed for this purpose, was around 138,000 foreign nationals working in the Philippines in the POGO sector. And the estimate in terms of personal income taxes that should have been withheld, but was not withheld, or that were not withheld, was a minimum of 2 billion pesos a month. So according to the BIR, collections will start this month, July 2019.
So if you can identify 138,000, meaning these are documented workers, no?
No, these are the workers that were identified when they put together all of the lists that PAGCOR, the Bureau of Immigration, and that DOLE had.
Is it possible, sir, that the number could be higher?
It's possible. It's also possible that it was an initial master list, but there are also double entries there. So they've been cleaning that list. It's also difficult because the names are sometimes very similar. No, that's why Undersecretary Chonko of the Revenue Operations Group instructed also that the birthdays be included so that we can differentiate.
Yung 138, sir, majority would be Chinese?
We the report is that this is the list of foreign nationals
Foreign
working in
nationals.
the Pogo sector.
Is it a cause for concern for the DOF that we have a lot of these kinds of workers in the Philippines that are not only not paying taxes, but could present maybe probably a security issue?
Well, the primary concern that was addressed by forming this task force was that it's grossly unfair to the Filipino taxpayer who regularly and religiously pays their personal income tax, while we have foreign nationals who are using the streets and other services that are provided by various agencies and not contributing their fair share. No? So that was the purpose for forming this task force, to determine who are here, ilan sila, nasaan sila, at ano ba ang dapat na contribution nila dito sa ating public services through the remittance of personal income taxes.
So economic mostly, no? But do you see a security dimension to the concern?
I will defer to the security agencies on
Okay.
that question, no? Kasi sila yung talagang mandated dyan.
Thank you, sir.
Tony, you want to clarify something?
Just in addition, no, dun sa revenues na collected from tobacco, the tobacco excise, meron din dyan na naka-earmark based on existing law, no, na 15% of excise revenue, or in the most recent law that was passed by the 17th Congress, yung pinag-usapan ni Yusek Carl na pipirma ni Pangulo, yung 15% or our last estimate kasi of the revenue collection that was shared with the tobacco-producing LGUs was 21 billion pesos. Now, it's important to take note that the 21 billion should be compared with the total value of the crop, which was estimated at 3.8 billion pesos. Now, the total estimate for the crop produced in the tobacco-producing areas was 3.8 versus their share of the excise taxes on tobacco at 15%, which amounted to 21 billion in our most recent estimate. So malaki talaga ang suporta na napupunta sa tobacco-producing areas and tobacco-producing LGUs. So ang bagong batas na recently passed, nakalagay doon 21 billion or 15%, whichever is less.
Okay, Joseph? Okay, thank you, MPC. Thank you, Asak Lambino. Thank you, Yusek Chua. Thank you, Congressman Villaferte. Back to our main studio sa People's Television Network.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you very much.
Hindi mo ako mapakainin. Dalawa lang.